Hey Guild Wars 2 fans, this is Ed Park, aka Taugrim. I have some warrior specs for you. This first one is a conventional dual-wielding axe spec with a rifle as my second weapon. I am running with a pretty large 26,000 HP pool, and you can opt to drop your HP pool to get more direct damage. So I open up on this opponent here with a snare and a vulnerability debuff, and then to build up my adrenaline quickly, I go ahead and pop Whirling Axe. So I have a full adrenaline bar, and I consume it for the Eviscerate Burst ability and crit for 4100. You know, if you stack more power and more damage, direct damage related stats, you can get crits for, even on plate, for like 6 or 7k. So right there I use Eviscerate again. It acts as a short range gap closer in a straight line, so you want to make sure you line up your target, and I crit him there for 3600 without a full adrenaline bar. I really should have waited for that last piece of the bar to fill up in hindsight. So the axe ability, the one-handed axe in your main hand, probably has the best burst ability of all the warrior weapons. So you'll see a lot of warriors wielding it. A rifle makes a really good option for your second weapon because you get a ranged snare, a vulnerability debuff, bleed effects. These are useful for applying meaningful damage when you're from range or when you're at a different z-axis like I am now, and when you're trying to close a gap to a kiting opponent. So I'll use my gun here and I'll apply the vulnerability debuff right there. It's 5 stacks, so any direct damage hitting the target will hit harder from all sources, not just mine. And then I switch over to the axe, use the snare effect, and this warrior gets knocked back, so I use my Eviscerate as a gap closer and then finish him off with a 4k crit. You'll notice a couple things. When I'm running with the spec, I'm using the 20-second heal. It is the best heal for warrior in my opinion. You can use it every 20 seconds. It removes 2 conditions, and I'll show you comparatively how a different Healing Signet performs the healing ability. And I start taking a massive amount of damage right here. I should have activated my bubble. That's the Endure No Pain. It's 5 seconds of immunity from incoming damage. It's pretty amazing. But there is one funny thing here. Warriors have an ability number 3, the Vengeance ability, which I go ahead and activate since it's available, and that will rally you for a short period of time before you drop again. So I pop the 20-second heal. I really should have just chewed up all my cooldowns right here as I'm going to go down, so I should have popped Frenzy and Endure No Pain, but I did manage to burn down that caster before getting killed again. There's just too much incoming damage from these opposing players. One other thing you can do with an axe in your offhand, which is really cool, is you can use a whirlwind attack to clear out trash. So it's a fast spinning AoE, and against squishy targets like these Mesmer pets, it'll get rid of a lot of them. So this helps a lot when you're trying to track down a Mesmer. And with this spec, the 26k HP, I was critting this Mesmer for around 5 to 6k. So, you know, again, if you wanted to push those numbers up, you'll see people posting videos on YouTube where they're getting, you know, crits from between like 7 to 8, 9,000. That's because they're stacking as a glass cannon. Let's look at a different weapon set here. This is the Greatsword, and it stacks a vulnerability debuff. So I go from 1900 to 2100 to 2200 for a crit. And so it's a really nice spammable ability, and it has the additional benefits that you can use it on the run, and it acts as a mini AoE. So I want to try out some different specs, and here I'm using Adrenaline as a battery to do 3 things. 1, to regenerate health. It regenerates health for 360 every 3 seconds at max Adrenaline, and I also get a 5% buff to damage and a 9% buff to crit. So in this case, I'm going to be using a Greatsword for one weapon set and then a one-handed sword axe for my other weapon set, but I'm looking to keep myself at max Adrenaline just to see how well this works. I'm also using the 6-piece set bonus that provides a heal over time effect, although as I'll show you in this video, it's not really worth getting. I was just testing it. I have a 32% crit on my tooltip, but at max Adrenaline that goes all the way up to 41%, and I charge this opponent, immediately snare him, use 100 Blades, which is a self-rooting AoE ability, but he gets out of it before it can fully land. You can see he wasn't taking any damage there for a few seconds, and that's because he popped his Endure No Pain ability. Really nice for extending your time to live. This Char Warrior and I burn down the first warrior, and I use 100 Blades there to get some nice damage on this target, and then I immediately follow with my Blade Trail, which provides that ranged snare effect. And then we burn down this target. You can see I'm getting hot ticks from 3 sources. The 30 are from that 6-piece set bonus, so that ticks just about every second. The 360s are from the 15-point passive trait in the defense tree based on full adrenaline. And the ticks for 180 and change are from the Healing Signet, which is a healing ability that provides that passive benefit, but the direct heal can only be used once every 40 seconds. So, based on that, in testing and watching this footage, I actually recommend going with the healing ability that was using with the previous spec, which you can use every 20 seconds. It's a smaller heal amount, but it's usable more often and it clears 2 conditions. Now check this out. I popped Frenzy here and just used the regular Greatsword ability. And what Frenzy does is it buffs your crit chance and it reduces your cast times. It makes you faster in your attack. So you can see I got 5 consecutive crits there for a total of about 6,000 damage. It's really nice. The cool thing about using the Greatsword and the one-handed sword is you have some nice gap closers. So I charge this thief here, and then he stealths, and when he reappears from stealth, I go ahead and use Blade Trail, the number 4 ability with the Greatsword, and it hits him twice around 1300 for snare, and then I switch over to the one-handed sword, use Savage Leap to close the gap, Hamstring to snare him, and in a minute here he'll try to stealth, but once he pops out of it, I finish him off with a Whirlwind Axe. So this was an interesting spec to try. I really want to see what the self-healing capabilities, the passive self-healing capabilities of a warrior could be. And I think that if I had paired this up with a 20-second heal, my uptime would have been better. Because I am running a little bit as a glass cannon. My health is just barely over 20k. I'm sacrificing a lot of HP, in order to increase my crit chance and my damage. You can see right there, I was starting to output some nice damage with 100 blades, but I got knocked back. And I use my charge ability here as a short distance gap closer and get a nice 2500 crit, and then follow that up with 100 blades. I'm taking a lot of damage here, so I go ahead and burn my Healing Signet. And when I do that, it removes the passive 180 regen. So that's gone, and I use Whirlwind Attack there to go ahead and create a gap. You can use that to close the gap to opponents or to create some separation, since I didn't want to use my charge. And I'm just waiting a little bit. Right now I don't have any other healing options, so I'm just letting my hots tick up a bit before I re-engage in combat. So I come back and use the snare effect immediately. It's a really, really nice ability. When you throw your sword, it'll hit any opponents in a straight line, and as it comes back, it can hit the same opponents again, and it'll snare all of them. So my healing ability is off cooldown. Go ahead and pop it, and then we finish off these last 2 opponents. So you can see these 2 specs play totally differently. The Greatsword, one-handed sword spec compared to the Axe rifle spec, but that's part of the breadth of customization provided by this game. If you're looking for more information, dial it into my YouTube channel, Taugrim TV, and follow me on Twitter @Taugrim. Take care.